Not wisely, but too well, by Bear Wander. The common flock to hear Hamlet, after that Crowley augments it with a goodly number of bawdy jokes. They love it not so much as they did the Hotspur and the Falstaff, yet it does please them, and even Crowley must admit that Burbage is a marvel to behold. For his own part, Crowley would fain let Hamlet be forgotten. 'Tis as he told the angel, he comes to the theatre to laugh, not to weep. For him, still haunted by memories of the plague, inducement to sorrow is not worth a halfpenny, but laughter is a precious commodity. Crowley likes the Night of Errors best of all. He delights in the confusion, and loves to laugh at misadventures that he need not toil to cause. And to boot, it is not half so long as Blessed Hamlet. Crowley has another reason to dislike Will's tragedies, but the angel knows it not, and shall not know it, for it is Crowley's shame. He likes the tragedies not, for he hath seen himself in Iago, that skilful tempter whose exploits would please any prince of hell. He hath watched Lady Macbeth rub a stain that will not out, and felt the burn of that self-same stain on his own palms. And now, hidden among the throng, he hears Claudius ask forgiveness of heaven and be not answered. Claudius, who laid his blame upon a serpent in the garden. Trip him that at his heels may kick at heaven. Yea, the tragedies show him too oft a mirror, and not one that flatters. Would that he could do as Richard did before Bolingbroke, and dash the glass against the ground. But the angel beseeched him, with eyes as wide and blue as the summer sky, and Crowley could not say him nay. And when he returns to London, and gazes upon Crowley with a smile like the breaking dawn, Crowley does not regret the miracle. Something is different after Hamlet, and the change is as subtle as a roaring lion. Aziraphale regards him with palpable fondness, and, ever a serpent, Crowley lays him down and basks him in the warmth of that regard. It creeps into his bosom like sweet words into his ears, and he knows not what to do. Crowley cannot say when he knew he loved Aziraphale. When upon the first encounter at the gates of Eden, Aziraphale defied God herself, Crowley, ever given to questions, could scarce contain his wonder. Then, as the flood began, and mothers cried for mercy in the rain, he once more did defy God, once more to succor humans. In the darkness of that fell tempest, Aziraphale shone as bright as a star, and Crowley, who had been lost at sea, began to follow his guiding light. And Rome, oh Rome, that first meal shared, sweet wine and sweeter conversation, with the only creature in all the world who might hope to understand him. Crowley's first miracle for the angel, and the passing strange desire to do anything whatever to see his smile. Rome was but the beginning of an addiction, fed the more by each exquisite meeting. They met more often, even as the world grew ever wider, humanity swelling its bounds like a river o'erflowing its banks. And by the time that Yeshua came to earth 1,600 years ago, Crowley had long lived more for his angel than for hell or humanity. It is agony to love the angel, and it is bliss. His love is sweet and flowing, sometimes like honey wine, sometimes like blood. A light that blinds him even as it warms him, a gaping wound that is its own balm, a demon and an angel, opposed, but not opposing. He does not love Aziraphale the way humans love one another, base and carnal, frantic mad as they watch their short lives pass them by as does the idle wind. Humans are so unconstant in their love. They promise each other their pelting eternities, and even in so brief a span, too oft they break their word. Crowley has known his angel for near 100 human lifetimes, and though he may have been unconstant of body, yet never has he been unconstant of heart. Aziraphale is his soul's equal, his sole companion in all the world. Crowley has known Aziraphale since that the world begun, and the angel has known him as no other can nor shall. Sometimes hath Crowley dwelt in the conceit wherein he and the angel lived together, coupled one to the other as Eve was to Adam, sharing their several joys and sorrows day and night. Aye, could they but hide from heaven and hell, then would he never part from the angel more. But in truth, they would be discovered ere long, buying a moment's happiness with an eternity apart. 'Tis far too dear a cost. Knowing this, Crowley hath contrived to hide his affections these 5,000 years. He feared their destruction at the hands of heaven and hell, but he feared, too, his own destruction, should Aziraphale say he did not love him. Hamlet asks, "Am I a coward?" And Crowley weeps. He hath hidden his affections, and he did intend to do so evermore. But now, to see the angel gaze so wistly on him, to hear something kin to love in that sweet voice, it cannot come to good, yet Crowley is ensnared. Some weeks after Aziraphale's return from Edinburgh, Crowley meets the angel at the Boar's Head in Eastcheap. Aziraphale likes the tavern chiefly for its history and its capons. Crowley likes it for its cheap sack and Madeira. "Why, how now, Chuck?" Aziraphale greets. His smile as bright in this dark and dankish tavern as a beacon in the dead of night. The angel, ever out of fashion, is attired in cross-garters, pale blue upon his peach-colored stockings. It is ridiculous. Crowley loves him better than all the world. Tosspots as they are, they buy a gallon of sack and a gallon of Madeira. Then they talk of temptations and blessings, of birds and beasts and petty things, till they are swine-drunk. Their conversation turns then to theatre, of which they have spoken oft of late, since that miracle and the beauteous smile that was sequent. "I supped with Will but yesternight," Aziraphale tells him, his tongue stumbling in his words. Crowley snorts. "Will, and he live another 1,000 years, he'll never think he'd written enough sonnets for his dark mistress." "Psst," agrees Aziraphale, swaying upon his stool like a ship upon rough seas. "And yet he cannot love her half so well as I love thee." Crowley's sometimes mirth burns away like a fog. "Have a care, angel," he warns. "I'll not have thee say things as thou wilt regret tomorrow." "I wot not what thou meanst," Aziraphale pouts. "Do you not?" Crowley demands. "And are you not an angel? Is self-deceit not yet deceit?" Aziraphale stumbles back, too drunk to follow Crowley's thoughts, but cut to the quick by his ire. "Why thou'st thou not me?" he whines. "Peace, angel," Crowley hisses. "I'll not speak to you in this state." Briefly, Aziraphale's eyes look weeping ripe. Then, suddenly, he changes his aspect, banishing the milky clouds from his eyes and looking upon Crowley with a steadfast gaze. He is no longer drunk. The drink has drained from his blood as it did from Crowley's on the instant the angel said he loved him. "Crowley," he says, "I'd have you understand." He withdraws a paper, and Crowley trembles with dread. "Do but read this paper, I prithee. 'Tis a verse by my own hand." Crowley seizes it, and he turns pale as he reads. The poem is artless, so honest that it hurts to look upon't, and dangerous, dangerous beyond all measure. "I tasted not the apple in the garden. I savoured not its sweet and sticky flesh. I was not she who forfeited God's pardon to seek salvation in another's breath. Yet the day when Eve knew sin, and I knew thee, I tasted that which from thy lips did pour. You tempted her that I might tempted be, to drink of that sweet chalice all the more. More I drink, thou serpent, more I love, and less I fear the wrath of God nor demon. No torments of below, no bliss above, compare to what Eve chose that day in Eden. For had I known thy love could taste so sweet, I'ld have forsworn all else and thought it meet." Crowley's gorge rises. He cannot draw breath. How knew the angel of the love he bears for him? Hath he so gross in his regard been that all this time the angel knew his heart? And did he then say nothing? Ha! 5,000 years and more hath Crowley held his peace, thinking himself more beloving than beloved. He hath dreamt of love returned, yea, many a time and oft. He hath dreamt of the angel's touch, the angel's tender voice, but to come thus unwished for, most retrograde to all sense. What good can come of this when heaven and hell yet watch them? Crowley shuts his eyes. He does not wish to speak, for in doing so he must deny his angel, must seem to despise his love. Why must he, the tempter, resist this temptation? Fie! Fie, fie, fie! He takes some little pause to breathe, for he must be temperate.
This cannot be, Angel, he says, his voice calm.
Yet it is, Crowley. Do you not feel it? The angel seizes the demon's hand to place it against his breast. Crowley feels one iamb of his heart before he snatches his hand back, and his temperance retires, never to be seen more.
I speak not of thy affections, Patch. This sonnet is gross blasphemy, forswear heaven.
I wrote it not so plainly.
Didst not? What might these words mean else? Thy meaning is plain as eyesight. Even a boil-brained archangel could find it out, though he'd not heard of poetry before.
Had the angel but said, I love thee, 'twere not so great a fault. But this written confession, this open blasphemy, heaven would not countenance this, nor would hell spare Crowley.
You understand not the torments of hell. And as you love me, you'll not seek your own end there by committing to ink these foolish flights of fancy.
I say in this I cannot live without thee, canst not hear? Aziraphale stands as firm as rocky mountains. Feel what thou wilt, but do not call me a fool. I know my own mind.
Oh? Crowley replies, his blood hot. And dost? Do you presume to know the mind of God as well? Do you believe she will forgive your sins because you're an angel?
He spreads his wings in a place beyond mortal sight. Though he does not look upon them, he feels them at his back, as black as pitch and more defiled. Aziraphale throws his eyes on Crowley's wings to regard them briefly, then turns those eyes once more upon his face, meeting his gaze without fear. Love is no sin, Crowley, he says earnest. Saidst thou not before that angels can do no wrong? Love comes of God, you cannot think else. Crowley is seized by despair. Is the angel truly so innocent that he cannot see how he dangers them both in this? It must be so, for angels cannot dissemble. And what of hell? The angel remains steadfast. Come, be not afeard, sweet snake. None watch us now. He lays a hand upon Crowley's arm, and Crowley starts at the touch.
Hast not eyes in thy head?
Crowley despairs. He plucks his spectacles from off his face, that the angel might see his serpent's eyes.
There is yet much to fear, and always shall be.
Come, Chuck, thou tremblest in thy passion. Crowley breaks now into extremity of rage, the tempest within too strong to be held back.
Out upon you! What need I succour from an angel? I who've been cast out of heaven, whose very tongue profanes the name of God. Was not you, who but 1 month since swore you knew me not? Was not you who denied my aid these 1,000 years? How comes it now, on the sudden, you are thus changed? Crowley, peace! A plague upon your poetry, and you'll not preserve yourself, I'll preserve us both. Do but come near me, and I shall swear I know you not.
He sets the parchment on fire in his hand, and the angel's fair visage is tristful as a mourning mother's. Why, what a base and soulless villain is Crowley, thus to scorn an angel's love! And yet, what a blessed, innocent fool is Aziraphale to trust so much in heaven.
We'll not speak of this more,
Crowley says, and turns to leave. The angel does not stop him. He walks with dignity whilst in the tavern, but once out of sight, he runs, shameless, desperate to his lodging, frantic as though he were pursued by wolves. He hurries past the ostler and throws wide the door to his rooms, then shuts it up behind him in a haste. Then, at last alone, he falls to his knees and weeps. Some few days thence, Crowley knocks upon the door to Aziraphale's rooms. The angel opens it with eyes full of anger.
Why, how now, Crowley? Are you come to scorn me more?
Not a whit, angel, Crowley says sincerely.
Come, I'd not have us part in choler.
The angel looks to the letter in Crowley's hand. Must we part? He asked, his anger sudden fled. What news?
I must to Paris straight, and thence to Prague.
And set you forth tonight?
Aye, angel.
Prithee, entreats Aziraphale, stay but one night. Devoutly doth he wish to stay till morning, to lay his head in the angel's lap, that he might be glutted on the angel's presence for just one night, might surfeit with that sweetness. But it cannot be.
To what end, angel?
He asks. Aziraphale does nothing to that, for there is no answer that can be made aloud. No, Crowley says, concluded on. I tarry here too long. He must needs banish himself from the angel's company. What he might do else, well, he'll not think on't. Aziraphale sighs. Would that I had not wasted the time I had with thee. Aye, Crowley replies. Then, Angel, when last we spoke. He is loath to prod the still bleeding wound, yet he must ask. Didst not understand me? Truly. Aziraphale bends his eyes upon the earth. I pray you pardon me. My reason was o'erthrown by my desires. Crowley's own desire then comes near to o'erthrowing him. He pauses to shut his eyes and breathe. Tush, Angel, he says when he once more can speak. Pray not to me, thou knowst I cannot hear. Aziraphale smiles at that. His wanton radiance is dimmed, like the sun half smothered up by the clouds, yet he is still more beauteous than Helen, that earthly paragon. 1,000 ships. Ha! Crowley would make war against all the host of hell and heaven to but preserve that smile. Pardon me, then, Crowley, the angel entreats, looking up upon him with eyes as deep as the ocean. With all my heart. They stand so for an instant, or for an age. Crowley had as lief sever his own arm from his body as the angel from his side. Yet it must be. I must away, he says, ere night can turn to morning, and when I'm on horseback I will swear I love thee infinitely. Aziraphale nods, with brows wrinkled in sorrow. Will you call upon me when next you chance to be in London? Crowley fixes his eyes to the earth. It is not meet I should be so familiar with thee, he says. He must break off from the angel, though it break his heart. Think you so? Aziraphale asks. He steps before Crowley, but Crowley moves not to behold him. It is not meet. I would not danger thee. The angel nods once more. Then I shall trust thee, for thou knowst I cannot trust mine own heart. He comes yet nearer. Have a care of thyself, Crowley. Fairly well, angel. Aziraphale is very near, and the temptation grows too strong. Crowley allows himself a breath to caress the angel's cheek. Then, cursing his weakness, he kisses those rosed lips. Almost on the instant he flees into the night, not daring to look upon the angel more. When next they see each other 60 years thence, they do not speak of it.